So this morning I'm going to cover two topics because in all truth, they're all one and the same, to be honest with you. The first one is Jews living in the U.S. are in grave danger. Now, I've discussed this before, but now I've got even more proof. And also, I now know who or what family was responsible for leaking the Trump peace plan of the century. I will go ahead and get started first with the Jews are living in the U.S. are in grave danger, but not just the U.S., all over the Western world. I've gone over this before. I've explained this before, how the enemies of capitalism are about to take over the United States. And of course, the ultimate capitalists, they are Jews. That's what Jews are. They are capitalists. So anti-capitalists are the enemy of the Jews. And now what you've got going on in Europe, and you know this as well as I do, you've got eyes to see just like I do. Because the governments in Europe have invited the enemies of the Jews into the country, the Europeans are going to start backlashing. And in what form? In the form of National Socialism. Now, I will get to that in a few minutes here. Maybe a half an hour, I don't know. But now I'm going to move straight to who was it that leaked Donald Trump's peace plan of the century to the public. It was the Adelson family. Now, first of all, let me preface this with telling you this. I have no ill will, as some do, against Jared Kushner or Sheldon Adelson and his family. None. Zero. And I know that there are people running around with this notion that somehow because they want to forward the narrative of Cyril of Jerusalem, a false preacher, claiming that the so-called Antichrist, as they say, is somehow a Jew. And so, thereby, with lack of knowledge and understanding, now they want to point the finger at Jared Kushner somehow. Because they don't read the scripture. They prefer to read the narrative and not the scripture. I need to go turn my phone off here so I don't get interrupted while I'm doing this. Okay. So Sheldon Adelson. It is he that owns Israel Hayom, or Israel Today. That is the publication that exposed the peace plan of the century. Okay? You can see this. Dr. Adelson, who owns a newspaper with her husband, Sheldon Adelson. This happened back in, when was it? Last year, 2018. Now, the Trump administration came out late, very late, and started saying, oh, this is not here's a problem, by saying it's not true. The Adelson family are very tight with the Trumps. They know what's going on. So I don't buy it this time. I do not buy the it's not true narrative this time. So I'm going to go ahead then. Now, I did look on Israel Today website to look for, and I found it on their website. Problem is, it's written in Hebrew, And when you turn the translator on, it doesn't translate into plain English. So I've got really no choice but to go ahead and use a different publication that does translate it into plain English. And this comes out of Turkey. The Daily Sabah. Contested U.S. peace plan reveals new Palestine. Now, as you know, let me go ahead and before I forget, now I've got to go back and start over a little bit here because I didn't do screen share. All right. So let's go back to Israel or the Globe's magazine. We're right here in this particular article. Miriam Adelson takes reins at Israel Hayom. Dr. Adelson, who owns the newspaper with her husband Sheldon, has taken over as publisher from Asher Baharov, who is leaving along with CEO Zippy Koren. As you can see, the date right here in this particular article is May 17, 2018. Okay, so Sheldon Adelson owns the paper. Who leaked the story about Trump's peace plan of the century? Now let's go to the Daily Sabah, which translates it in proper English. Contested U.S. peace plan reveals new Palestine. An Israeli newspaper published an outline of a U.S. peace deal showing that a new Palestine. You see, Jared Kushner says we're not going to talk about a two-state solution anymore because it means one thing to one side and another thing to another side. Well, he lied, if this is true. If this is true, and I have no reason to not believe Sheldon Adelson because he is very, very tight with the Trump administration. If this is true, now you got to understand, if this is false, then Sheldon Adelson, he is putting his credibility on the line here, and I don't think he would do that. If this is true, then Jared Kushner lied when he said we're not going to talk about a two-state solution anymore. This is because it clearly, this outline clearly is. And I pointed out in the past that a two-state solution, the mere mention of a two-state solution is blasphemous. It's a curse. Will be established that will be politically reshaped as demanded. U.S. President Donald Trump advisor and son-in-law Jared Kushner is known for his ambitious plan, which according to the U.S. administration will bring peace to the region through overcoming the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. An Israeli newspaper revealed the details of the plan. The claims in the Daily Israel Hayom, yes, owned by Sheldon Adelson, have not been confirmed by Israeli, American, or Palestinian officials. However, it is likely that Kushner and his team have already drafted their offer. The newspaper outlined the main points of the agreement according to the translation of the article, which was published in Hebrew, provided by Anadolu Agency. A tripartite agreement will be signed between Israel, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and Hamas. Now, let me point out to you folks, let me remind you, in order to fulfill the prophecy that Paul referred to when he was referring to Psalm 69 and verse 22, there is no agreement that has to be signed. It just says, when they shall say it, utter it, announce it. The word announce is very important. Okay, so I will continue. A tripartite agreement will be signed between Israel, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and Hamas. And I'm here to tell you folks right now, I don't believe it will be signed by all three parties. I just don't believe it. And it won't have to be. A Palestinian state called New Palestine will be established in Judea and Samaria in the West Bank and Gaza, with the exception of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. That right there, folks, I have shown you in Scripture that to do such a thing is a slap in the face against the heir to the kingdom of Israel in Jerusalem, Moshiach. It is a slap in the face. Another report published on Mondovice with reference to the same article said the Palestinian state will control 2 international borders with Jordan, likely turning over the Israeli-controlled Allenby crossing between the West Bank and Jordan. New Palestine will have a local police force which will be allowed to hold light weapons. The new Palestinian state will be prevented from forming a military. Israel will be responsible for security for a fee paid by the Palestinian government. Anadolu Agency also underlined that the report was claiming that the settlement blocks in the West Bank will remain under Israeli control and will stretch to reach other isolated settlements. One of the most controversial issues is the situation and status of Jerusalem. And here we go again, folks. They said that Jerusalem will remain united. Well, right here you will see there is double talk. The U.S. decision to move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem last year connoted that Washington recognized Jerusalem as the Israeli capital, despite the fact that Israel has been keeping Jerusalem under its occupation according to international agreements. In the alleged deal, Jerusalem would not be divided or shared between Israel and New Palestine and will be both the capital of Israel and New Palestine. Do you see that? That, my friends, is the definition of double talk. Double-mindedness. I will repeat it again. In the alleged New Jerusalem, in the alleged deal, Jerusalem will not be divided or shared between Israel and New Palestine, but yet will be the capital of both Israel and New Palestine. By now, you should be as incredulous as I am. If the Trump-Jared peace plan is remotely anywhere near this, folks, it literally is the definition of insanity. It's delusional. How can you say in the same sentence that Jerusalem will not be divided or shared between Israel and New Palestine and will be the capital of both Israel and New Palestine? How can you say that? How can you say something like that? That's insanity. The Arab population in Jerusalem will be citizens of New Palestine. The Israeli Jerusalem municipality will be responsible for all areas of the city except for, see, this is dividing Jerusalem. Just trying to avoid the penalty of Joel 3, while at the same time committing the atrocity that is outlined in Joel 3. This is what it is. So when they go and use language like this, what it proves is they know exactly what they are doing, but they are trying to parse words to claim that they're not committing an offense. The Arab population in Jerusalem will be citizens of New Palestine. The Israeli Jerusalem municipality will be responsible for all areas of the city except for education, which will be dealt with by the Palestinian government, which of course will continue to teach their children death to Israel. The new Palestinian Authority will pay taxes and water costs to the Jerusalem municipality. Jews will not be allowed to buy Arab homes. This is a violation of the new covenant, folks. Arabs will not be allowed to buy Jewish homes. No additional areas will be annexed to Jerusalem, and the present status of the holy site will continue. This is extremely obnoxious. It is the height of arrogance, and it will not stand. On Gaza, the report said Egypt will lease new land to Palestine to construct an airport and factories and serve the commercial and agricultural sectors without allowing Palestinians to reside on this land. The borders of these lands and leasing price will be determined between two parties through the mediation of the supporting countries. It is likely that the Gulf countries, mainly Saudi Arabia, will support the plan as Kushner aims to better the relations between Israel and the Gulf. The Gulf, Israel, and the U.S. believe that Iran and Muslim Brotherhood ideology are threats to themselves. Therefore, a new plan in which new Palestine will be created may become a chance for the three countries to reshape the Palestinian political body. Well, they also claim that, the EU will sign it, that bring all these other nations in, including the United States, to sign it. It's dead on arrival, folks. It is dead on arrival, which proves my point that no peace plan has to be signed for the trigger to be pulled on the great tribulation upon the Gentiles. So, as I pointed out before, in Psalm 69, that it is here, Psalm 69:22, that is where Paul got 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 3 from, where it talks about when they shall say peace and safety, or when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them like a woman in travail, and they shall not escape. Verse 22, let their table become a snare in their face. The word before means in their face, or blow up in their face, okay? Let's make sure we get Strong's Concordance out there so we read every word correctly here. A jinn or pach, which is a bird trap, in their face. And let shalom. What does shalom mean? Shalom means peace and safety. Right here. Peace and safety. Let peace and safety be the bait. The bait, the lure. Mokesh, that's what it means. Bait, lure. The bait, the lure portion of the snare or the trap. So who's being baited here? It says, let him blow up in their face. The one who's laying the trap is the one who's going to fall into the snare. It's not Israel that's baiting or that's laying the trap here. It's an entity other than Israel, by default, the Gentiles. So I'm here to tell you folks, you Jews, you're in grave danger. Why are you in grave danger? Well, let me go to, once again, as I have done so many times, Revelation 11 or 12. 12. The woman and the dragon. I showed you over and over again that the woman with the crown of 12 stars represents Israel. Israel, Israel, Israel. Israel was the one who brought forth the man-child. He's a Jew. Israel. Right? Israel is the one with the real crown of 12 stars. Europe is the fake. You look at the EU flag, they think they had the crown of 12 stars. Well, the problem is If you read in Revelation 2 and 3, you will realize that the churches, they are the 7 golden candlesticks, not the crown of 12 stars. And if you read Paul, we'll go there real quickly. In Romans 11, in Romans 11, you will see that the gifts and the calling of Jehovah cannot be changed. In other words, the woman with the crown of 12 stars was Israel, is Israel, and will remain Israel forever. Each of the singular tribes of Israel all together. Not one left behind, not one eliminated. Okay. What did I just do? All right. So in this whole chapter, Paul is telling the Romans, Jehovah has not rejected Israel. They say, yes, he has. He's arguing with them. He's telling them, you better behave yourself, because if you don't behave yourself, the same thing that happened to them is going to happen to you. They did not listen. They didn't listen. They did not listen to Paul. Paul said, verse 25, for I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits. That blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Okay. Now, if you read, was it Matthew 24 or 25? It is written in this way, the time of the Gentiles comes to the full. So it's time. Time is the fullness, not the amount of people. Time, 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 time. Okay? Until the time of the Gentiles is finished. So all Israel shall be saved. As it is written, there shall come out of Zion. So after the time of the Gentiles comes to an end, the salvation of Israel begins. Why? Because of the new covenant that is written in Jeremiah 31, verses 31 through 34. He has to fulfill the new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, also backed up by Paul in Hebrews 8, verses 8 through 12. Now he says right here, concerning the gospel, he's telling the Romans, they are enemies for your sakes, but because of the election, they are the beloved for the patriarch's sakes. In other words, they are the beloved elect for the patriarch's sakes. Because the gifts and calling of Jehovah are without repentance. In other words, cannot be changed. So Israel had past tense, the crown of 12 stars. They, present tense, have the crown of 12 stars. One star for each of the singular tribes of Israel, which each of the apostles will reign over in the kingdom in Jerusalem at the time that Paul pointed out in Romans 11, verse 26. Okay? For the gifts and calling of Jehovah cannot be changed. So, they're all going to be gathered up. Now, Jews, you are in danger. Let me explain why. Because if we go back to Revelation 12, this right here is a summary of what happened from the time that Mashiach was born until the time of the very end. Everything is laid out. We are right here. This particular verse 13 happened when the devil entered into Caligula and took over the throne in Rome. Okay? And right after that, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. He persecuted Israel. The man in Rome persecuted Israel. Vespasian, Titus, all of them have done it. One generation after another from millennia on end, they persecuted Israel. But when the time of the Gentiles comes to the full, when it comes to an end, all right, let's go there. Let's look at that. Let's see. I might have to just go straight to, yeah, I do. I'll go to Matthew 24 as first. What just happened here? I keep on going to Matthew 25. I don't know why I do that. So I got to go back here. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, I think it's in Luke 21. Okay, here it is, verse 24. Talking about the people of Jerusalem. Verse 22, for there shall be vengeance that all things that are written in the scripture might be fulfilled. But woe unto them, and so on and so forth. And who? That the Jerusalemites, they did fall by the edge of the sword. It happened. It's not to happen anymore after the time of the Gentiles comes to an end. Okay? And they shall be led captive into all nations. They were. Now, you Christians can sit here and you can deny this in your delusion all you want to, claiming that it's going to happen again. You are in delusion. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. Jerusalem was trodden down by the Gentiles. History proves it. And if you fail to recognize it, you are in delusion, you are mad. Look up what the word delusion means. It's a form of insanity. Read your history books. Look up what the Romans did to Jerusalem in 66, the spring of 66 CE to the autumn of 70 AD or CE, which is 3.5 years of time, times and a half of time. Okay, led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden by the Gentiles until tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. The time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. The way we say it in English, modern English, comes to an end. Now, time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. Kind of like a grain of sand, or what do you call that? Oh, shoot. That little time device that they used to use in the old days with sand in it. Until all the grains of sand have filled the that device. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. It's about time. It's not about the amount of people or anything like that. Time. And when the time of the Gentiles has come to the full, it's over. The games are over. The time is up. And the Jews will be once again in big trouble, but they will be saved out of it, as written in Daniel 12. Okay? And it says, there shall be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and upon the earth. Torment, distress, anguish, tribulation of the Gentiles. Yes, folks, the tribulation will be on the Gentiles instead. With perplexity, the seas and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them, people dropping dead from heart attacks, for fear, and looking or seeing those things which are happening on the earth, for the powers of heaven will be shaken, and then they shall see the Son of Man coming in the cloud with power and great glory. And when you see these things come to pass, now you know what the Catholics say. They say, close up your door and stay inside until the darkness is over. They say, if you go outside, you will be dead. Well, you will be killed. And they claim that demons will be turned loose in those days. Well, the opposite is true. It says, then look up and lift your heads. Look up at what? Somewhere it says, look at the sky. Let me go back to Matthew 24. Let's see what it says there. Make sure they shall see something coming in there. All right, it's not that one. Let's look. I want to cover everything. Mark 13:24. It looks, I thought it said, look at the sky. Lift up your head. No, look up and lift up your heads. Well, if you're in your house, you're going to look up. What are you going to see? The ceiling? No, you look up at the sky. Lift up your heads and look up at the sky, because your redemption draws near. Well, the Catholics will tell you that you have to go inside your house and hide from the angels that's coming. They call them fallen angels, but the angels that are coming are actually the righteous angels. So then we need to go to, once again, Mark 13 and verse 27. It says, and then he shall send his angels and shall gather his elect. We just read right there, Paul just said it. The elect are the 12 tribes of Israel. From the four winds, from the uttermost parts of the earth to the other, in other words, from the uttermost parts of the earth, and they will use the sky to do it. And if you read it in Matthew 24, you will see the same thing. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, north, south, east, and west, and from one end of the sky to the other. Sky travel. Airliners. Exactly what is written in Isaiah 60. Isaiah 60 verse 8 describes them. Airliners. Okay. Amos 9, this is where I'm going to. So in the entire book of Amos, Jehovah warned bitterly, complaining bitterly about the people of Israel, about their disobedience. And he said he was going to scatter them among the nations. But then he said he was going to bring them back. This is where I'm going with you Jews here and pointing out something. This actually changes my belief system after. Here's what I'm doing, folks. I'm actually going to practice what I preach today. I tell people, if you want to know the context of what you're reading, make sure you read the next verse. All right, that's what I'm going to do. Verse 9. Now, you read up here, it talks about how angry Jehovah is with the people of Israel. And he said, you're no better to me than the Ethiopians are. You're no better than the Philistines, and you're no better than the Syrians. That is an insult to the Israelites. Okay? But look what he says here. Behold, the eyes of Jehovah Elohim are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it off the face of the earth, except that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith Jehovah. Not utterly. Because in the last days, he's going to do something. He is describing exactly what he's going to do from start to finish right here. For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all the nations like grain is sifted in a sieve. You know what falls out of the sieve? The smallest grains. Yet not. Now this says bag, but if you read here, it's like this here. Pebble. Pebble. Figurative for grain or wheat. Okay, now we go back and get our act together here. Shall not the least pebble to fall to lie, to be abandoned. Okay, so not the least pebble is going to be abandoned in the land. In what land? In the land where they were scattered to. Not the least. What this means is he's going to scatter, or he did scatter all Israel, all of them he did, to all the nations of the world, and they got mixed up with the nations, literally. But not the least. You know, the arguments that take place, real Jews, fake Jews among the people, is laughable. It's laughable. Because the vast majority of Jews are mixed blood, mixed breeds. Including myself. I'm no different. I've got proof. But I'm mixed breed. So, what's the standard that's going to be set? Is it going to be 50% Israelite? Is that what's going to be accepted? Not according to this. It says not the least pebble. Not the smallest. Okay, is it going to be 25% Israelite? Says right here, not the least. Okay, then let's use Jewish law, current Jewish law under the Old Covenant, or current Jewish law. Well, the mother or the grandmother has to be a Jew. If it's only the grandfather, father or grandfather, and it's not the grandmother or mother, then that's not accepted. Wrong again. The least grain will not be abandoned in those lands. Okay, how about 10%? Let's negotiate here. Is it going to be 10%? Shall not the least pebble be abandoned in the land of the Gentiles? Not the least. Okay. How about 5%? We're going to go with 5%? Once again, shall not the least pebble be abandoned upon the lands of the Gentiles? Or 1%? I think you're starting to understand what I'm saying here. Now, I've been guilty of doing something that I have chided other people for doing in this particular chapter. So I'm going to correct it right now. Verse 10. I thought that verse 10 applied to the people who were going to be scattered, but not necessarily among those who are going to be gathered. I was wrong. It's both. And I'll explain to you why. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword. What sinners? The ones that say, the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. Okay. I'm telling you right now, folks, if you are a Jew, if you are of Israel, and you live in the United States, and you live in Europe, and you live in any of these Gentile nations, you are in mortal danger. And so am I and my entire family. Mortal danger. He says, not a single one of them are going to be abandoned. But it says, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say, the evil, the adversity shall not overtake us nor prevent us. Let me show you what is written in Revelation 12. Now, the way I've read this is correct. And when the dragon saw that he was cast in the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And he did so for almost 2 millennia now. But what happens next? And to the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time, times and a half a time. What? Away from the face of the serpent. So in the last days, the European nations, the Western nations, are going to persecute Israel again, but this time will be different. As it is written in Daniel 12 and verse 1, it will be a time of trouble such as never been since the beginning of man, nor shall ever be. And in those days, your people shall be delivered, those who are written in the book. Huh? All right. Amos 9. Let's look at it very carefully. In verse 10, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword. Those who say, the evil shall not overtake us nor prevent us. Those who say, trouble is not coming. Those who say, I can continue to live here in the United States and trouble is not going to affect me. Those who say, I don't want to go back to the Holy Land. I want to live here. Revelation 12. The time and a half a time is going to be the tribulation upon the people of the dragon, the Gentiles. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, Ezekiel 38:39 war, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. See Ezekiel 38 and 39, and you will see exactly the great earthquake and the hailstones and the meteors that come falling down upon these armies. The great earthquake is going to cause great chasms to open up and swallow much of this army, and the rest will have to be buried. Now, and this is once this episode right here occurs, says, then the dragon was wroth with the woman. Who's the woman? Israel. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the rest of her seed. You are in danger. Now, I've said it before, and I'm right, that this remnant of her seed who keeps the commandments of Jehovah and have the testimony of Yehoshua they are the 2 witnesses. It is written. And you can read it in Revelation 11, the very chapter before. Was wroth with the woman. Means all Jews living in those lands will be in danger. You will not be abandoned, but, however, remember Lot's wife. Well, I should not have put. Let's try again. Are you kidding me? In the days of Noah. I'm going back to, I guess, Matthew 24. Where is remember Lot's wife? It's got to be in Luke. Huh. Somewhere. Is it Mark 13? I'm reading over this too fast is where the problem is. All right, I'll Google it. Luke 17:32. That was the reason why I couldn't find it. Too. Verse 30, even thus shall it be in the day that when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day which is on the housetop and the stuff in his house, let him not come down. Wait a minute, it says it won't be abandoned. It also says the angels are going to come and gather the elect. That's how the people are not going to be abandoned. They're going to come and they're going to say, you have got to go to Israel. You are in grave danger. Mark my words, folks. Let him not come down and take it away. He that is in the field, let him not, likewise not return back. Remember Lot's wife. In other words, don't dilly-dally around. Don't do it. Don't sit here and say to yourself, well, I'm going to be safe here. Nothing's going to happen to me if you do that. If you do that, then Amos 9, verse 10 is for you. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword. Who is the one drawing the sword? The people of the dragon, the Gentiles, which say evil shall not overtake us nor prevent us. So when the angels come to tell you you've got to go, then you've got to listen. Remember Lot's wife, because if you don't, you fall into this category. This is not figuratively speaking. This is not spiritual Israel here. This is literal Israel. The elect are the elect and will always be the elect. Israel are the elect for the patriarch's sake. So says Paul to the Gentiles. Remember Lot's wife. Do not say it's safe here. You think it's going to be safe here? You're taking a look around you. Anti-Semitism or anti-Israel, anti-Zionism is not just creeping into the most pro-Israel country on the earth today. It is coming like an avalanche, folks. I don't know why people can't see it. And it's coming in the party, the political party that the Jews trusted in the most. The Democrat Party. This is where it's coming from. yesterday. Let's see if I can find it. Looky here. On the Jewish Telegraphic Agency, anti-Zionist imam delivers opening prayer in the U.S. House of Representatives. An imam who has wished for the end of Zionism called for the third intifada and likened Israel to Nazi-era Germany delivered the opening prayer for a session of the House of Representatives on Thursday. Now, let's see here. Omar Suleiman, the founder and president of the Dallas-based Yaqeen Institute, an organization that describes itself as a resource about Islam, referred to recent attacks on houses of worship, which have included synagogues in the United States, in his opening remarks. Let us not be deterred by the hatred that has claimed the lives of innocent worshipers across the world, but emboldened by the love that has gathered them together to remember you and gathered us. Suleiman said in a short prayer after being introduced by Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat, California. Suleiman has a long record of incendiary social media statements about Israel, as compiled 2 years ago by Petra Markhart Bigman, a researcher, and posted on the Al Jazeera news site. He has on multiple occasions wished for a third Palestinian intifada or uprising, likening Israeli troops and Nazis, and wish for the end of Zionism, calling the Zionists the enemies of Allah, is what he said. He's a backer of the Boycott Israel movement. See, folks, the leaven of hatred, anti-Zionism is embedded now completely into the Democrat Party. As usually happens in the U.S. government, the government will eventually flip to the Democrats. And when it does, folks, the OACs, the Imran Omars, the Talibs, and people like this will be in charge of the Democrat Party. If you want to hide your head in the sand like a low IQ ostrich, you do so at your own peril, and you fit the description of Amos 9 and verse 10. Let me take my advice and prepare yourselves to leave this country. Once again, take my advice and prepare yourselves to leave this country. Because when the Messiah comes and conquers the surrounding nations, opens up the lands to all Israel, he's going to say, come on in. Come on in. From the least to the greatest, come. And you have to go. You have to go quickly. You cannot mess around. Just go. Have some faith. And once that's done and finished, then the door is going to be shut. And those who didn't go are going to realize they screwed up. They're going to realize they weren't safe after all. The overturning will commence among the Gentiles, and the Gentiles are going to come chasing after the Jews within their own lands, and they will come a-running. They will come a-running to Israel. And then you have the parable of the 5 wise and 5 foolish virgins. Matthew 25 and verse 1. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins which took lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. All Jews, or most all Jews, know about Moshiach and know he's coming. And 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. And the foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. And while the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And it doesn't say at midnight in Greek, it says, and in the midst. In the midst of what? In the midst. This is at the time when the overturning occurs between 2 portions. I'll show you, just so we can get context here once again. This is when the time of the Gentiles comes to an end and the time of Israel restarts again. In the midst. In the middle. In the midst. Between the midst thereof. Between what? Well, this right here, you can see, read midnight here, but it also says in between. In between means between 2 points. You can't have an in between without 2 points. Time of the Gentiles comes to an end. Time of Israel's redemption begins. That's your 2 points. Okay? Let's go back. So when the time of the Gentiles comes to an end, just like we read in Matthew 24, the time of Israel begins again. There was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom comes, go you out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. They have no idea what's going on. But the wise answered and saying, not so, lest there be not enough for us and you, but rather go to them and sell and buy for yourselves. And when they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and then those who were ready, here is your answer right here, those who were ready, who were expecting this, who were waiting for this to come, they were ready, they were mentally prepared for it, they knew it was coming, went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. So the others fit the description of Amos 9 and verse 10. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say, the evil shall not overtake us nor prevent us. Because the wise knew what was coming. They knew they were in danger. And once the door opened up, they were ready. Let's get out of here. Quickly! While the others dilly-dallied around. They didn't believe they were in any danger. If they would have believed they were in danger, they would have moved as quickly as the 5 wise. Now, there are people who try to poo-poo what I'm saying here. That's okay if you want to do that. You do that to your own detriment. See, the reason why I'm doing these videos is because, for a couple of reasons. One of them is so that nobody can say, Henry, you knew and you said nothing. I will not be accused of that. Accuse me of anything else you want, but you don't accuse me of that. Don't do it. The other reason is because I have a moral obligation, if I know this, to point it out. I do. And so, in the face of, ridicule or whatever that I might get, I will do this. So, consider yourself warned. You know that when they shall say peace and safety, that is a trap. You know that. It's written. And you know that's what they're doing. It's a trap, folks. And when the trip line is triggered, it's going to snap on the whole world. as it is written in come on, as a snare upon the, okay, upon. I'm going to find it here eventually. Luke 21, verse 35. This is where Yehoshua got it from. He got it from Psalm 69, verse 22. And it's in the same context as the signs in the sun and the moon, men's hearts failing them, and all that. On all that, it says here in verse 35, and take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness. What happened to the five foolish? Their hearts were overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and the cares of this life. And so the day came upon them unawares. They weren't ready. For as a snare it shall come upon some of them. Is that what it says? I'm going to look up that word all just to make sure. I want to leave no stone unturned, folks. Please. Uh-oh. There's that word, that Greek word pos. 3956. All and every. It means all in the sense of every part that applies. So here you go, folks. For as a snare it shall come upon all that sit on the face of the whole. That here's that same word pos again. All, the whole earth. Every one of us, including me, including my own kin. It's going to come upon the whole world as a snare, and you better be ready for it. Watch you therefore, watch. There's a command again. Don't be sleeping, don't be in sleeping drunkenness, drowning in the cares of the world today. Watch and pray. It says always, but what is the word? In, among, within, in the realm, in the sphere of, in the condition, the state of, which operates from the inside. Okay? It's not always, it's within when you're there, when you're in that land, when you're in the land of the enemy. Watch and pray in those lands that you may be accounted worthy to flee away. See, the word escape has even been perverted anymore. People don't even know what it means. They think rapture, which means no fleeing. You're going to escape by rapture. Well, guess what? What does that word say? To flee away. In other words, you're going to have to move your feet to flee out, flee out, flee out. You see? Now, you will have to run for your life. Take whatever mode of transportation is available to you, and the best, greatest one that will be available is written in Isaiah 60 and verse 8, flying ships of Tarshish. Those things that shall come to pass. What things that come to pass? I'll show you those things that shall come to pass. Daniel 12. Oh, I did it again. Here are the things which shall come to pass. And at that time, what time? Michael shall stand up, the great prince which stands for the people of children of your people. Who's the children of Daniel's people? The descendants of Daniel's people. Daniel's people was Israel. Who was Daniel praying for in Daniel 9? Israel, Judah, and Jerusalem. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. In other words, from the time there ever was a nation, even to that very time of the end. No time like it. And at that time, your people, Daniel, who's Daniel's people? Read Daniel 9, and you're going to find the ones he prayed for. Daniel 9, you want to see? I'll show you. I'll show you. I'll take however long is necessary. Daniel 9. Let's find out who Daniel's people are. All right, here we go. Verse 1, in the first year of Darius, son of Ahasuerus, the seed of the Medes, which is made king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by the books the number of the years wherein the word of Jehovah came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. Now, Daniel's people is who Daniel was praying for. So let's find out who Daniel was praying for. And I set my face unto Jehovah Elohim to seek by prayer and supplications and with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed unto Jehovah my Elohim and made my confession. I said, O Jehovah, the great and dreadful Elohim, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him and to them that keep his commandments. We have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled, even by departing from your precepts and from your judgments. Neither have we listened to your servants, the prophets, which spoke in your name to our kings, our princes, our fathers, and to all the people of the land. What? Our kings, our princes, and the people of the land of what? Now we're going to get a little closer. We're going to find out who Daniel's people are. O Jehovah, righteousness belongs to you, but unto us confusion of faces. As at this day, to the men of Judah, that's the Jews, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, that's right, Jerusalem. All right, here we go now. Here comes the truth, like a pie in your face. And unto all Israel, wait a minute, we're not done yet, that are near and that are far away. Through all the countries where you have driven them because of their trespass, and they have trespassed against you, O Jehovah, to us belongs confusion of face, to our kings, to our princes, to our fathers, because we have sinned against you. Verse 11, yes, all Israel has transgressed your law, even by departing, that they might not obey your voice, and therefore the curse has poured out upon us. Who are Daniel's people? The ones he was praying for. Daniel 12. That means all Israel, near and far, Jerusalem, the Jews, the whole kit and caboodle, the whole 9 yards, is Daniel's people. The great prince which stands up for the children of your people. Daniel's prayer is going to be answered to the full. There shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, to neither even to that time, and at that time your people shall be delivered. Romans 11, verse 26. Read it. Everyone that shall be found written in the book. Okay? And if they don't come, if they disobey and don't come, then Amos 9 and verse 10 is going to fall upon them. And they won't be written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. But they that are wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they which turn many to righteousness will shine like the stars forever. But you, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. Well, guess what, folks? We live in the time of the end. How do I know that? By the words which proceed after that statement. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge will be increased. And there you have it, folks. Checkmate. The narrative that you've been taught by Christian preachers are lies. I told you the truth today. I dare you to go and study your Bible and try to prove me wrong. But if you're going to do that, you need to spend equal time testing your preacher to see whether he's wrong or not as well, using the same method. Remember Lot's wife.